Are y'all ready to go down a rabbit hole? Because we are about to go down an absolute cluster of a rabbit hole. What is up, fam? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to actually the channel and not one of my silly vlog days. Something has happened this afternoon that I have actually been dying to talk about for the longest time because to me it is like infinitely more interesting than the case of Johnny versus Amber and all of that nonsense, because that to me is like child's play and just a load of crap compared to the 1MDB scandal. So, what I want to talk about today is this tweet and the subsequent story behind the tweet that Adam put out this afternoon. And I just find this whole entire thing to be extremely fascinating. And as I said, this is a rabbit hole. So please stick with me if you can, if you want to. It's very, very complicated. There is a lot to try and take in, but it will piece together quite a few things that go to why Johnny was so heavily bombarded by the press, the specific publications that targeted him, and it will kind of pull some things together for everyone. If you've never seen any of this information before, it's not new. Everything that I'm going to show you is publicly available, based on what Adam tweeted, not only this afternoon, but actually a whole string of tweets from some years ago, from 2020, I think it was. Luckily, he got his account back, so I was able to actually go look up the string of tweets. I had saved some screenshots that I was able to grab from that time. It's actually before he even had a profile picture up. Maybe I'll show a couple of them for fun, but it's better to be able to pull up the whole thread because we'll be able to see a lot more of the responses and the back and forth that happened as opposed to just the few screenshots that I had. This is something that Laura calls the scavenger hunt. I know that she remembers this very well. So let's go ahead and get into it. So, first of all, I'm going to share Adam's tweet from this afternoon. Here it is. The most important political corruption trial you never heard of begins 1 month from today. Media previously reported on it and then stopped to keep it that way. Presidents Obama, Trump, their top advisors, and Leo DiCaprio are all called as witnesses. Not newsworthy? This is a quadrillion percent newsworthy. So, first of all, this trial revolves around a member of the Fugees, and his name is Pras Michel. Okay, so as we go through this, let me just give a huge disclaimer as we go through this entire saga of a story. First of all, it involves a lot of names and difficult to pronounce names. And so I just apologized in advance for everyone's name that I'm about to butcher. And it just is what it is. And if anyone wants to correct me on literally anyone's name that I'm about to read out over the next however long this video winds up being, I will definitely appreciate it. But so this trial that Adam's talking about revolves around this gentleman, Pras Michel, who is a member of the Fugees, and he is charged in this alleged money laundering scheme. And I'm just going to go ahead and read this quickly for you. So, months after the Fugees canceled their much anticipated reunion tour, a new report suggests it was Pras Michel's legal issues, not COVID related difficulties, that grounded the trek. In 2019, Michel pleaded not guilty to federal charges of conspiracy and falsifying records stemming from the rapper's alleged role in a Malaysian wealth fund's campaign finance violations. Michel was among the people that Justice Department said was tied to Joe Low and 1MDB, a wealth fund tasked with promoting economic development in Malaysia. Low is accused of stealing from the $4.5 billion slush fund, with Michel allegedly paid at least $8 million and as much as $40 million for his role in assisting Low. Now, if you can, try to keep these various names in your mind, especially the Malaysian names. This is all going to come together in kind of a spectacular way. And I'm just really excited to talk about this finally. So in June 2021, Michel was hit with additional charges in connection to his attempt to lobby the Trump administration to drop its investigation into Lowe and the 1MDB fund, as well as lobbying for the Justice Department to return dissident billionaire Guo Wengui back to China. Even with the federal charges against Michelle, the Fugees still announced an international reunion tour in September of 2021. Just days before the trio of Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean, and Michelle staged a brief comeback show at a global citizen event in New York. However, the tour was postponed and ultimately canceled, claiming the continued COVID pandemic has made touring conditions difficult. However, the pandemic wasn't the only thing making touring conditions difficult. According to Puck, the Justice Department would not permit Michel to embark on an international tour, including planned gigs in London and Paris due to his pending federal trial, which is slated to begin in November. Now, this is obviously a little bit of an old article. We're going to trial. It's going to trial next month. So Puck adds that Michel rejected a plea deal that would have seen the rapper plead guilty to an obstruction of justice charge, and with it a 16th month prison sentence and financial retribution to Malaysia over the money he received from the 1MDB fund. Michel, who has pleaded not guilty to all charges, will go to trial in Washington, D.C. beginning November 4th. While Michel's legal issues scuttled the trio's plans, Wyclef and Hill did deliver a surprise duo performance of Fugees' hits at New Orleans Essence Festival in July. Okay, so this is what the trial is about specifically. Is this gentleman was charged with money laundering, but this is all part of just a much huger, gigantic picture, and we are going to get all the way into that. Honestly, this might be multiple videos long. I might even cover this trial because I have a feeling the things that are going to come out are going to be just spectacular. But let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So let's go to some of the articles that Adam shared. First is this article from Rolling Stone. 72 witnesses, including top Trump officials and Leo DiCaprio, prepped for Pras Michel money laundering trial. Okay, so this goes kind of through the same thing. The charges, pled not guilty, tied to Joe Lowe. So here we go. In 2019, DiCaprio gave secret testimony to Washington, D.C. grand jury involving his alleged role in the scandal. He was considered a witness to an alleged conspiracy that used proceeds from the 1MDB fund to finance his movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, via its ties to Leo DiCaprio Foundation. According to the list of witnesses in the Michel trial, DiCaprio might once again have to answer questions about the alleged connection. So the thing about this 1MDB situation, this slush fund, is that they laundered a ton of money through Hollywood Productions and through the Hollywood machine, and eventually they were found out. And one of the biggest sort of projects that they took on was The Wolf of Wall Street. This is sort of the most famous production that you'll see mentioned in accordance with this laundering scheme. But it is a big deal because the movie was very successful and obviously involves a lot of star power and big studios and all that sort of thing. Top Trump officials in the potential witness list include former White House Chief of Staff John Kelly, former National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster, and former Deputy National Security Advisor Matt Pottinger. Also on the list is the former RNC Deputy Finance Chair and lobbyist Elliot Broidy, who pleaded guilty to acting as an unregistered foreign agent working for Chinese and Malaysian interests in 2020 and was charged in the federal probe surrounding 1MDB. Trump pardoned him in 2021. In June of 2021, Michel was hit with additional charges in connection to his attempt to lobby the administration to drop the investigation. We saw that in the previous article, and that he was due to embark on the tour with the Fugees, which never happened. Now, there are several more articles. There's a lot that I want to get to, including Adam's older tweets. So, but I think it's important to go through everything that Adam presented just this afternoon because a ton of information was given in one tweet with like 4 screenshots. And so I think it's important to look at all of that stuff. So I'm sorry if this is going to get long and you're not going to understand everything right away, but you might when I get to Adam's old thread of tweets. Okay. This one is from the Wall Street Journal. Malaysian fund 1MDB linked to White House visit. So the reason I'm sort of reading a bunch of these out is that Rolling Stone and the Wall Street Journal are both paywalled. So as long as if I can read it out for you, at least you get, an idea of what's going on here. And I will link the articles in the description of the video. Man, I can't remember what I'm saying. Got to get back in the swing of things with the YouTube videos. My goodness. All right. Washington, Malaysia's government fund scandal, one of the world's biggest alleged white collar crimes, has been connected to a Hollywood studio, high end US real estate, and now a visit to the White House. Just for clarity, this article is from October of 2016. Okay, so this has been going on for some time. Federal investigators are looking into whether money improperly obtained from the Malaysian fund was paid to a businessman who later arranged an Oval Office visit for relatives of the Malaysian Prime Minister, according to people familiar with the probe. The businessman is Frank White Jr., an entrepreneur who helped start an investment firm called Dusable Capital Management LLC, along with partners including a rap star. Mr. White has also raised funds for President Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Investigators believe about $10 million allegedly embezzled from One Malaysia Development, BHD, known as 1MDB, flowed indirectly to Mr. White in a business deal, said people familiar with the probe. Additionally, 1MDB paid $69 million to buy a Dusable unit out of a deal they had agreed on to build solar power plants, the firms said last year. The investigation of the payments is part of the wider inquiry into 1MDB, a fund that Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak set up in 2009 to spur development. Investigators in several countries believe up to $6 billion was improperly diverted from the fund. Malaysia's Attorney General cleared Mr. Najib of wrongdoing, and 1MDB has denied wrongdoing. Both have pledged to cooperate with investigators. Mr. White and Dusable have provided information to investigators, said a person familiar with their position. The investigation hasn't resulted in any allegations of wrongdoing against Mr. White or Dusable. All right. The dealings with 1MDB were intended to provide renewable energy in Malaysia, create jobs in the U.S., and earn support from Malaysia in the U.S. At the time, there were no allegations 1MDB was the victim of theft, said their spokesperson, Eric Smith. All right. So let's go down here because we'll get back to the Hollywood aspect. Mr. White's Malaysian connections were on display in December of 2013 when he escorted to the Oval Office a delegation that included the son and stepson of Malaysia's prime minister, according to visitor records. Actor Leonardo DiCaprio and director Martin Scorsese accompanied them to present to the president a copy of The Wolf of Wall Street, a film the stepson Riza Aziz co-produced. The Justice Department said in its July lawsuits the film was partly funded by money stolen from 1MDB, an allegation the Wall Street Journal had reported in April. Mr. Aziz has denied wrongdoing, and his production company said it believed the money came from a legitimate partner. Mr. White's spokesperson said he had no dealings with Mr. Aziz. There's no indication Obama or the White House were aware of any of the links or any issues with the movie's financing. So there is kind of that. DiCaprio declined to comment. Scorsese didn't respond to requests. Like I said, I will link all of these articles in the description. I don't want to get too long-winded with reading this all down. And once again, try to keep some of these names that are being mentioned in mind, because they will all come back around again. Okay, next one is the Politico article. Fuji's Pras Michel plans subpoenas for Obama and Trump. So he wants, the two former presidents to testify at his looming trial on campaign finance, foreign agent witness tampering charges, defense attorney said Tuesday. This article is very recent, from the January 17th of 2023. So this is just last month. Again, going through the charges and what happened. The government is not intending to call any former presidents. Justice Department lawyer John Keller told Judge Colleen Kohler-Codaly during the half-hour-long court session. However, Keller said the government does plan to call two high-level officials from the Trump White House, former National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster and one of his deputies, Ricky Waddle. All right, so kind of same. And the last one, Business Insider, again with who they're going to call as witnesses, who they're saying they're going to call as witnesses. It's just sort of the number of articles and then nothing. The most recent one is that Politico one from last month. This is October of 2022. Well, it looks like this was supposed to go to court November of last year, and was obviously put off until now. That's all. That's all the articles that we have for now on that specific thing. Now, if you guys remember, I know you do, the TMG lawsuit, and that was from 2016, right? When Johnny sued his former business managers for, let's call it, misappropriation of funds. That ties pretty heavily into this situation. Just really interesting to watch so many pieces fall together. This is like a real life James Bond, where all these little things sort of come together in a very wild and weird way. So what I'm going to show you now is this thread of Adams from 2020. I'll try to share a link to this. I'll see how I can do that. But, anyways, so May of 2020, there's conversation going on about the trials. Will they be public? I think that this starts with somebody making a joke about IO doing a deposition. Adam says they'll be recorded on video. Anyways, I don't want to move off of this little area, so this is where I'm starting from. The UK and VA trials will both be public for those attending in person, which will include media that will report on it. We've fought and won for Virginia depositions and evidence to be transparent and non-confidential. UK evidence is secret until trial. So then we have this reply, which kicks off this entire string of just amazing information. Oh, I so wish I could be there. Sadly, I cannot, but I'll be there in spirit and definitely will be following in media and social media. I hope they report it fairly. It's like the most incredible foreshadowing. So here's Adam. I wouldn't hold your breath on that. That is the reason we have been here, and we will continue to spread the truth no matter what the media says. As a graduated in journalism is inferior for me. More what tabloids have been doing to him, that is not journalism. Adam says not just tabloids. Unfortunately, this account is not here anymore. But Adam says, who owns Rolling Stone, Deadline, and Variety? Brooke, of course, with the apropos scumbags, no lies detected. But Laura, J. Penske, yes. And who owns Penske? He's another thing that was deleted, but he says, you have Google, look carefully. The answer is Saudi Arabia. So Laura took a couple $100 million from the Saudis, like Ari did. Who's Ari? Ari Emmanuel, who runs WME. Let's keep going. Very good. Now read any story in Deadline or Variety or Rolling Stone on our 5 lawsuits over the last 4 years. Aurora, very intelligently, Ari defended TMG. Adam, Here comes Laura with the receipts. As she does, the queen of receipts, Waldman kept floating alternate theories involving Malaysian banks, a Hollywood super agent, and Mideast investors. Nothing has been substantiated. Maybe he'll pull it off at the trial. If you don't know where this quote is from, it is from the horrific Rolling Stone article that douche Magoo went and hung out with Johnny and Adam in wherever the hell they were. I think in England somewhere. I'm not going to pull it up, but you probably know what I'm talking about by now. This is from that article. It's a very small paragraph. But Waldman kept floating alternate theories involving Malaysian banks, a Hollywood super agent, Ari Emmanuel, and Mideast investors. Nothing has been substantiated. Maybe he'll pull it off at the trial. Wolf of Wall Street. So, Adam, from whom did TMG's 30-year client, Ari Emmanuel, claim to have gotten $400 million for William Morris Endeavor? The Prince. The Prince. Dude. So this is the scavenger hunt, as Laura calls it, very appropriately. So supposedly the feds may investigate TMG for money laundering, and they had a hedge fund with Ari, who was making a deal with the Crown Prince, who purged or arrested a bunch of princes somehow, part of that 1MDB Malaysian money deal. My head is spinning. Dude. Dude. I mean, it's amazing. Here's Aurora with a piece of an article. Add to that the matter of WME's newest investor, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who Emmanuel hosted on his grand tour of Hollywood in the spring of 2018, as had Rupert Murdoch and Bob Iger. The goodwill resulted in a $400 million investment, a check Emmanuel felt compelled to return after the Saudi backed murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi 6 months later. Very interesting. So here is a little bit more from the Hollywood Reporter, who is in on the take in the Penske arena. Okay. Multi-million-dollar deal would have allowed the Saudi government to back entertainment projects at home and abroad and take a 5 to 10% stake in Endeavor, according to the Hollywood Reporter. Last year, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed toured America, meeting with Hollywood executives, celebrities, and producers. Crown Prince wanted to become less reliant on oil as a driving force of his kingdom's economy and to bolster Saudi Arabia's budding entertainment industry. However, Khashoggi's death led to a chorus of international outcry, caused a number of business leaders in the entertainment, tech, and transportation industries to suspend talks or sever ties. There was also this interesting little tidbit about Elon and taking Tesla private at a certain point in time and who he was talking to in order to complete that. Very interesting. So let me show you now. If you're still confused, I apologize. Let me show you a few more tweets because not everything comes up in that thread anymore. So I am just going to show a couple of the screenshots that I have from the olden days. So this is very important. And this is something that I've talked about before a long time ago, but maybe this bears repeating again. And let me see if I can actually just pull this up. So the head of the Hollywood Reporter just quit because he was being directed by his owner who to attack and who to spare. Hollywood Reporter's top editor exits after dispute with the publisher. Matthew Bologna's departure takes the staff by surprise. He clashed with his bosses, who run a prominent film and TV studio, over coverage of the entertainment industry. Editorial director of the Hollywood Reporter has left his job after a dispute with his bosses over coverage of the entertainment industry. In a move that caught the staff by surprise, the trade publication announced on Monday morning that Matthew Bologna was departing. A former LA entertainment lawyer, Mr. Bologna had led the trade's outlet website, weekly print magazine, television arm, and media events business for nearly 4 years. Three people with knowledge of Bologna's exit said he left because of disagreements with Valence Media, the owner of the Hollywood Reporter, and Billboard, the music trade publication. Valence Media's two chief executives, Modi Wizak and Asif Sachu, as well as another executive, Deanna Brown, tried to influence the Hollywood Reporter's coverage several times, and Mr. Bologna pushed back, according to people with knowledge of the split. Today's announcement is the result of a series of conversations I've had for a few months with Modi about the direction at THR, Mr. Bologna said in a staff email. Some may want to read into that, but I'll just say that well-meaning, diligent, ambitious people can disagree about fundamental priorities and strategies. Mr. Wizik and Mr. Sachu are the founders of Media Rights Capital, a film and TV studio known as MRC, whose properties include Knives Out and Ozark. Started overseeing THR in 2018 as part of a reorganization of Valence Media, which also owns Dick Clark Productions. Since Mr. Wizak and Mr. Sachu took charge, the people said, Valence Media has put pressure on Mr. Bologna to report favorably on people and projects with ties to MRC. That pressure started to increase last year, the people added, when Valence Media installed Miss Brown as president of the Billboard Hollywood Reporter Media Group. Valence Media executives asked Mr. Bologna if they could give him a sensitivity list filled with names of people and companies in business with Mr. Wizik and Sachu, two people with knowledge of the matter, said. If THR was planning to cover them, Mr. Bologna was supposed to alert his bosses, Mr. Baloney, who declined a comment. This article refused to act on the list and also pushed back against efforts to kill certain articles. So this is all, extremely interesting. Go ahead and put those pieces together for yourself. I'm sure you're all just thrilled to death as I am. But let me go ahead and go back to the tweets. Okay. Owns Rolling Stone, Deadline, and Variety. They are not ignoring. They misreported it until they could no longer do so with a straight face. Now they refuse to report the highly newsworthy facts, although YouTube videos are replacing traditional investigative reporting and getting millions of views. Ask yourself why. For years and years about, YouTube being just better than everything. So, who owns Penske? Please tell us who. You have Google, look carefully. This is funny because this is my reply that doesn't come up in the thread anymore. Probably because I'm not names queue anymore. But anyway, Saudi fraudster is also wrapped up with Ari Emmanuel. So you start to see how this all comes together. Penthouse guy Elon Musk was sued for fraud by the SEC. They took his Tesla chairmanship away as punishment. To whom did he claim he was selling Tesla? Saudi Arabia. We already saw that in the thread. Now, sort of the coup de grace of this entire video. I absolutely cannot take credit for what I'm about to show you. Someone very diligently put together a flow chart of every single thing that I just mentioned and how they all connect together and where it connects to TMG and Johnny off in the corner. I am going to show it to you. If you like, I will tweet it. And I am so sorry that I don't remember who originally tweeted this. It was somewhere in the thread or another day because I know there were two of them. And yes, I kept both of them for all this time. This was the most updated version that ever appeared. So whoever made this, if you see this video, please reach out. I will credit you accordingly with all pomp and circumstance that you deserve. But this is just a thing of beauty, and hopefully it will sort of cement the whole situation. Okay. There's also more to the scavenger hunt thread. There are other pieces that I think happened on other days, but I wasn't able to find that. So many people's accounts have come and gone, but it all goes into what you see here. So, up in the corner, let me get on this. Up in the corner, you have Johnny. And here is TMG, who he sued for fraud. Joel and Rob Mandel. So this now goes off. So these are some pieces that I know were discussed on Twitter, but I wasn't able to find those pieces of the thread. So you have to kind of bear with me. Boy Schiller is a law firm and kind of a shady one. You can kind of look up what's going on there. And then you have Lionheart LP, it's a hedge fund, Benari Capital Management LLC, and this goes directly to Ari Emanuel. Now, up here, if you follow the Boy Schiller, it goes to the Najib Raja. Okay, remember I told you to remember those names? That's the Malaysia's former prime minister who was sentenced to 12 years in prison for his involvement in the 1MDB scandal. Okay, here's the 1MDB scandal, which goes over to, I mean, it's just so many people, but I'm following the outer line because it just makes it easier, and you guys can peruse the rest of this as you wish. Goldman Sachs, down and around, Ari Emanuel, once again, okay, up into WME, Live Nation Entertainment, that was purchased by Ari through the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund. Boom, Tesla, then Uber over here, Blackstone Infrastructure Partners, the former president, Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince. That name came up quite a bit as we were reading through everything. And here we have Penske Media Corporation, owned by Jay Penske. And yes, this is the Penske racing family, okay? Deadline, Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Rolling Stone, all of those things. Now, think about how all those publications treated Johnny during the last 7 years. Pretty horrifically, right? And who's up here in the corner just trying to mind their own business and sue to get their money back when this whole shitstorm erupts, right? Pretty incredible, right? So there's that. I'm sure there'll be more, especially I'm very much looking forward to more Adam tweets if he's going to deep dive this. And now I'm interested to see what happens with this trial because I didn't even know that it was going next month. So now I'm gonna keep an eye on that and see what happens. But there you have it, gang. There is some really interesting items, I think. So, hope you guys enjoyed. That is going to do it for today because that was just an enormous mouthful. I hope you guys were able to follow along, and I hope that you understand a little bit more about what's happening and what has happened previously that led to certain outcomes and treatments of certain people. It has always been my feeling. I'll just leave with this little tidbit. This is my personal opinion, just what I put together in my own mind, based on all this shit happening over the last 7 years. But having very early on, obviously followed that Adam's original thread of the scavenger hunt, and then of course paying attention to the TMG lawsuit when it happened. Um, if you go back, I may have to go find these things for another video, but there you can find certain quotes that Adam made to the press where he says that Joel threatened to like ruin Johnny's career, said he'd never work in Hollywood again, like that he would see to it, all this kind of stuff. And then you kind of see how the whole thing unravels, and then Amber becomes part of the picture. And so it has always been my opinion that it's not that anyone really believed Amber. It's just that she was a useful pawn to uh assist in their, take him off the planet from the entertainment industry. So just food for thought is just what I think. You don't have to think it. But thanks for hanging with me, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. It's good to be here making this type of video again. um, and I hope to cover this a bit more as it unfolds. And hopefully, you guys will go on that journey with me because I think that this is pretty fascinating. So, hope everybody had a great weekend. Hope you had a good Monday. And I will see ya in the next one. Take care, you guys. Bye bye.